Welcome back to the European LCS quarterfinals, where you can see Sheepy talking to his troops. They did a good job so far. Unicorns of Love are on the verge of sweeping Roccat 3-0. So let's look at game 2 and see what Roccat adapted on initially after that shocker, honestly, coming out of game 1 from their side.
So they took away the Victor, which was a good change, obviously, because now they realized Power Vivo was playing it. However, I want to start looking at the bans. I think Kalista is such a wasted ban against Unicorns of Love. They have barely played it, except for some of the few weeks in the start of the split, and it never worked out very well because Vardax is not the big carry on this team here. He's not a very aggressive laner either. He's a guy who will go even. So you put him on the best utility AD carry in the game, Sivir, who adds everything you want. Wave clear, tempo, ulti for utility for the entire team. And they're giving Unicorns exactly what they want for Vardax. I just dropped my pen as well. I don't want to see this Kalista ban anymore. If you want to ban the Sivir, I accept that one. Orianna as well. I feel like there are better options for Power Vivo.
And that's the strangest thing, is because this composition that Unicorns locked in this game, I think is what Roccat were expecting. Okay, we haven't really seen the Varus specifically from Power Vivo all that much. Played it in one game, it's been banned in 2. But we know it's the style Unicorns like. Tank top laner, poke from the mid lane, and pick up that Sivir for Vardax. Wave clear, look to push down turrets as well. The Varus coming out was a key factor in this game, though, for the Unicorns when you look at it.
Yeah, before the match started, we talked about how Unicorns have been running these single poke compositions, but it's always a scaling poke champion. The AP Israel we saw in the mid lane that takes 25 minutes to really become impactful, and that made it so difficult for Unicorns to play the style that they're showing today because Power Vivo couldn't help the team. Notice how much he did between 15 minutes and 25 minutes. He took 2 mid towers, he got a few kills and everything. That is part of setting up everything. The fact he's now also playing Varus again is perfect because this allows him to have an impact on the champion, doesn't need to scale as long, and then joining with the team to play this aggressive mid-game, and suddenly it's working for them. I'm not sure if he was saving things.
Yeah.
In the regular split, he was like, you know what, I'm
just
going to handicap myself a little bit. Once we reach the best out of 5, I will pull out exactly what my team needs, because now suddenly all the comps they're playing, they make sense.
Yeah, exactly, because you're on match point and you have more options than you would have. You are criticizing, though, a little bit of the warding of the Unicorns of Love in that early game, that they maybe could have done more with what they had.
So one of the problems we saw for Unicorns, after having such a fantastic start and having this siege comp with their big spike on the Varus, you would expect them to start, really getting a massive lead. As you said here, the warding, it's very split up. It doesn't seem like there's an objective when they ward. If you notice here, we are showing wards on the top side of the map. This is about 20 minutes into the game. They have wards around the Baron, even though they're not going to make a single play on this top side. Dragon is alive at this point here, and that is what they were going to look to contest. And also, you can see the bot lane tier 1 tower near Mr. Rales down here, also alive. So these wards had to be placed in the bottom side of the map near the blue buff. So you set up vision for the Dragon because you're in the mid-game spike. You already got the first one, secured the next. And then also what you do is by having deep vision behind the tier 1 tower, you always apply dive pressure, which means the guy standing and defending, let's say Mr. Rales in this case, he's like, okay, I have no vision in my own jungle. I don't know where they are. There's a chance they're going to dive me, so I need to back away from this tower. That gives you a low-risk situation where you take a tower, and there's very little counterplay from Roccat. But instead, Unicorns, they split up all the wards, and that made it super difficult whenever they were sieging, because Roccat could just see almost everything that was going on. They never really denied any vision. Not enough pings and 2 split up green wards.
Yeah, neither team really helped each other out or themselves out with upgraded trinkets. I mean, Horror didn't have one for a very long time. The same with the side of Roccat. There were a lot of things in this game that caused it to stall. One side of that is the vision control. The other side was looking for the engages on the Roccat side while the dive pressure was there, because no home guard on Steve for so long in this game.
You guys were so mad.
we were quite mad sat here. I was tracking it. I was like, he's got the gold for it. He could be sat in base. But there were a couple of situations where Unicorns did have the vision control and prevented it. But certainly there was more than a handful of times you could have got a home guard play.
The worst thing is, we had your Marta Cannon on this desk like 3 weeks ago. In a game exactly like this against the poke composition with the Maokai, Steve didn't build home guards before like 40 minutes. And he was left. His first comment was, yeah, we need a home guard. Should have been there way earlier so we can set up engages. In this case here, you want the home guard TP and the Alistar going in with the Righteous Glory at the same time. So even if there's a Black Shield, you can go for 2 separate targets and you can get the engage. 40 minutes, Steve builds a home guard. And he didn't even use it. He home guarded to Baron, walked into Baron and lost it again. such a big mistake. That needs to change if Roccat wants to win.
Yeah, let's finally maybe take a look at the game-winning team fight for the Unicorns of Love here in this one, because it was very close again in the end. We
Yeah, it was a close fight. The real turning point here is Vander goes into the fight onto Vizicachi, gives away all the pressure he's got in this fight. He was what was holding Vardags back on that ramp. Vardags is even warded out here. They know he's looking to come in. This is the one time that Nukeduck, he's in the back of the team fight looking for good positioning, but Vardags coming in from the side should never happen.
Yeah.
Theoretically, Nukeduck's positioning was decent. He had good positioning
knocked up though,
in
but
the bottom. Yeah, right.
Right.
It wasn't amazing, but at that time he should have Vander there blocking for him, and that didn't happen. Team fight is pretty much over at that point.
Second time though, we see it's Roccat starting the Baron. That gives their late game fight to Unicorns. They win to finish off the game. They keep going Baron themselves, again, not setting up proper vision around it. And I feel like a little bit too greedy. You got pushing side lanes with ban have command. You don't have proper deep vision. You don't need to start a Baron. It's just going to delay the game even longer, make it harder for you to finish it. So there are a few things to work on, but it's looking solid overall for Unicorns.
looking solid. Yeah, well, it's not a landslide win, not the second one either. So we're going to game 3. Before we get there, though, let's see which champion picks you guys and girls are looking out for. We have @Pyrocaslol who tweeted Yorick. Because I believe that
Don't ever say that on Twitter.
Will bring the pain to Steve, and then Huni, I think he's bringing enough pain with his Nautilus, honestly. But Yorick, we don't, you know, why not?
I mean, Source is playing next week, so the chance is there. However, does anyone really want to see Yorick being played?
Once.
Well, I guess the Unicorns fans may want the Yorick just for something a little bit more lively when it comes to actually.
I see what you did
said. Oh, and yeah, there's nothing lively about watching Yorick play either. But when it comes to like the Unicorn style, a little bit more of the unorthodox play style. However, the Unicorns have kind of adapted. They've actually seemed to, in the last couple of weeks, taken a standard setup, somewhat standard setup, and improved a bit on how they were performing in the summer
let's
split.
be honest, we're all surprised.
Right.
Like,
I just love the fact they've changed so many of the problems they had in the pick and ban phase in terms of team compositions. They had this playstyle all along. It was just the picks that didn't fit into the playstyle before, as we see. Or now we see the result when the picks fit the style.
match point here for Unicorns of Love and semi-final point for them, but we'll see what Roccat can do. The stage is set. Let's hand it back over to the casters for picks and bans.
Thank you very much, Sharks, and the rest of the analyst desk. Before we get to Champ Select, clear your calendar, guys. Later today, when we wrap things up here, North America will start their second quarterfinal bout between Gravity and Team Solo Mid. And to go back to the Twitter question, I thought you were looking at Yorick.
I want to see Yorick so badly, just despite the physio.
Well, there you
It's a
go.
personal grudge.
Picks and bans. Game 3 this time around, Roccat will be on the blue side. All right, so in this matchup, Unicorns opted to go red side. How does this change the theory? How does Roccat react to this now change?
I think in a game 3 of a best of 5, when you're 2-0 down, you have to throw out all your preparation. Clearly, things aren't working. Because you tried something once, you refined it, it didn't work again. You have to try something else. You have to start banning other stuff. Stop banning Kalista and giving over Sivir to the utility AD carry, to the most kind of like low-rated player in terms of AD carries. You know, Audrey and Vardex are kind of like rated very lowly.
Yeah, lower than the rest of the competition.
Lowly. Yeah, something like that. Not very hard sometimes. On the totem pole of AD carries. So why give him Sivir? You know, give him Kalista. Let him outplay mechanically at least, and just free up that ban. You know, stop picking so heavy on AP damage. Perhaps switch up the card one, get more aggression coming out from Rawless. Because right now, Roccat, they're just kind of rolling over.
Well, Roccat, what did they prioritize for first pick? They've already changed their ban strategy, Crepo.
Yep.
A reaction and an adaptation. They're not going to give Hylissang his Morgana. Again,
Good.
Adaptation. Sivir still up, Kalista still up. No junglers have been banned this series at all.
Ban Rek'Sai. Just hit Horo. Just make him adapt. At least force Unicorns to do something else. Because they're comfortably sitting on that Lulu and that Fizz ban. And perhaps Janna again. Are Unicorns going to repeat what they were doing? Irelia's out. So this might be a bit of a matchup that Steve knows to play, of which Irelia is like the only known counter, whatever that matchup may be. Unicorns are sticking with their bans, Lulu, Fizz, and Janna. Every single game so far.
Sivir is up, Kalista is up, junglers are up. What is first pick worthy in Rockat's mind?
Don't pick Sivir, go for Kalista Alistar, because that was fantastic as a combo. I would have even gone Alistar because I know, or I feel like Vardex just simply doesn't play Kalista. If Unicorns steal Alistar here, I think this will hit Vander just a little bit too hard.
Kalista, undefeated for Mr. Rolls. 3 games played. He's currently 3-0.
I'm just thinking back to the other matchup that they played back in the day. There was a second time they played, and that was exactly Alistar and Maokai were the key factors in winning that match. Steve was continuously teleporting behind enemy lines, and Mr. Rawlers was continuously throwing in Vander with that Kalista Fate's Call. Vander's Alistar was thrown in knock up, knock back, so much CC, aggressive potential. Now with Thresh, you could do similar things. Unicorns, they're taking a page out of Rockat's book, and they steal the Alistar Maokai immediately.
So, big changes here for Roccat, the Elise, the
Annie
Thresh.
Rek'Sai, are we going to see repetition?
Why not? For Unicorns, it's worked for 2 games in a row. I'll wait to believe that when I see it. But for Roccat, the makings of a very heavy pick composition has come into play. Lob the Thresh into the lines, put the box down, Death Sentence Cocoon. There's a lot of tools to kill single targets.
So Vardax, he already knows that he's going to play Sivir, so there's no point in hiding it. We might see it. Something else. Obviously, Annie Rek'Sai is not coming out. What am I saying? Alistar's already locked in. Sometimes, you know, in the heat of the moment, when you're in this spotlight right here, you say really dumb things.
It's not dumb, Crepo.
Well, I consider Annie when Alistar's locked in very, very dumb. So that leaves 1 pick remaining. Power of Evil with the counter pick in the mid lane. And with the setup they've built around him, that is likely, either going to be Poke or Victor. So now Roccat have to decide, do we steal one of the Poke champions? Or will we in turn run Victor for an ultra offensive lineup if they do pair that with this Rumble? No tanks, just hard engage, win lane, win game type of approach, which might be, honestly, what they need.
And if memory serves, Jankos actually built Cinder Hulk Elise in game 1 when he ran it with that very, very offensive team. It is going to be a Rumble and a Corki. So is this Corki mid for Nuke Duck? How does Unicorns then respond?
It's a very aggressive laner. I feel like it has more offensive potential. 1 to 6 kind of just spikes earlier. Scales worse because obviously Varus is a 80 carry in the mid lane that pokes, but he scales throughout the entire game because all his poke damage is 80 based. And obviously he's an 80 carry, so that is also 80 based, so he can build pure 80 items. Corki's poke is AP, or magic damage rather, so he scales in different aspects and he kind of falls off later in the game. But if we're hitting for a mid-game power spike, this is a fantastic lineup from Roccat. They have a lot of secure objectives with Elise, so much damage to sustain on these neutral objectives. Kalista can secure Barons and Dragons, so Roccat can easily go for a very heavy Dragon / Baron approach and just look to end the game at like 35 minutes with this composition.
If it happens, it'll be the first time we've seen it from Roccat because they're not particularly well known for their early to mid-game dominance.
Problem is they're running into an incredibly good... This screams like China to me. When you watch LPL, and you can just imagine these 2 teams fighting 5v5 bloodbaths around every single dragon. You know, the zoning control around objectives from Sivir and Victor, alleviated with some more offensive pressure from Alistar and Maokai in terms of crowd control. Rek'Sai, so much crowd control effects. These teams could just literally run into each other like that scene from Braveheart, but instead of stopping in the middle and saying hello to each other, they'll keep running and just start hammering on each other. Could make for a very explosive 3rd game in this best-of-5 series.
Well, 2 people are going to run towards each other and say hello in a moment. It is the coaches, Sheepy and Yamato Cannon. Sheepy has to be exceptionally proud of the growth the Unicorns have made in their 2 weeks off. Now they're on the red side for the first time this series. They have a team composition that could just trample over Roccat if they get ahead.
Yeah.
But that's the key. Can they get ahead early? Can they stop the Rumble, Corki, Kalista from getting themselves fed?
I just want to see how Mr. Rawls and Vander play this Kalista Thresh lane. It's a very fun lane to play in. So many small interactions that you can use, so many outplays, 1 to 5 as well as just level 6 with Fate's Call in there, with the Lantern interactions. Again, these are the lineups on your screen, and yeah. If you think that Roccat will take the first win here, tweet at LO Esports, #RockWin.
Or if you think that Unicorns of Love will close this out 3-0 in game 3, #UOL win. I love it when you talk hashtags to me, Crepo.
I know you do, Trevor.
This could be the 3rd series to go 3-0 in the LCS. It happened in North America, it happened in Europe. And the fans sure as hell want it to happen again. Unicorn's chance.
They're cheering for Unicorns. Don't you guys want to see more games? No? Okay. Jankos, he's going for the Oscar. He's like, oh, I'm alone. There's nobody helping me. Surprise! Horo doesn't bite though. Void goes down. 1 CS advantage. was Roccat already ahead in the mid game. That's what we were looking for.
1 minute in, that CS difference. It will mean the world.
Alright, deep wards, because Kalista Thresh wants to find that matchup against Sivir Alistar, because they can exploit it super hard. It's incredibly hard to spell shield Rend, because it has no cast animation almost. So you have to predict it to an extent.
Let's see if Vardags gets an opportunity to. Deep wards on both sides. We did catch a glimpse of Hellasang moving into Rockat's jungle. He's now got the support. The rest of UOL. Nukeduck.
So they're moving in.
Off. Also important to note, no AP runes.
So they could leash.
They
could leash the buff here for Horo, the red buff, then walk around and surprise Roccat on the golems. Could be a very interesting opening to this game. So you have to commit for that. Oh, he showed it.
Is this a little bit of Gouda?
They didn't see. I like it. They can leash the buff. They saw them going, so they know they're doing golems. Golems will take approximately 10 to 12 seconds. Kalista does very quickly though, but they're swapping away, so they don't want to go for the fight where they interrupt and potentially steal a golem. Just saying, okay, Horo is going to double jungle. And the best thing is, Roccat has no idea that this is happening in their jungle. They just expected, when the unicorns arrive in the top lane, they're just going to say, oh well, Sivir and Alistar, they did camp. If Hillsang really wants to sell it, he has to pulverize the ground right now. And just arrive to lane with just a little less mana.
We'll see if he does. But for Unicorns of Love, oh my god, Nukeduck is in so much trouble. Horo, Chachi, they're level 2. The knock up into the root. Nukeduck's going to flash away. I didn't think they stacked that CC quite effectively.
Wait. Does he even have Twisted Advance? Yes, he does. So yeah, very bad CC spacing then. That should have been a first blood right there, but good opening. Put in the aggression, but Nukeduck, he played forward very heavily, got level 2. And then flashed in Valkyries. 3 flashes for 1, as you point out on the screen. Valkyrie just came a little late on that gank. The first creep of the second wave is what mid laners use to get level 2. Power Evil didn't put enough pressure to deny Nukeduck off that. Valkyrie came out and he survived.
Nukeduck was actually able to flash away and stay alive. Now, we must mention that Power of Evil and Nukeduck this series, you know, really the linchpins for their team, but Power of Evil is just stepping up so much. 43% of his entire team's damage. Obviously, that Varus game previously is going to help a lot for that. But he was the man we were looking at to carry.
So yeah, this is the Unicorn's traditional style, where they have a lot of poke and just high damage on PoE. But in a new jacket, earlier spikes, you know, playing the map, taking more towers in the process. Usually, they do nothing until 25 minutes, and then they say like, okay, PoE, do you have 2 items, 3 items? Fine, let's start the game. This time, they ran out of towers almost at the 25-minute mark, so a different approach right here.
And both Roccat and UOL are looking at towers in their respective top and bottom lanes. 4 members of UOL up top, sorry, make that 3. We see a similar situation down bottom. Power of Evil is now the man that's in trouble. Remember, he used that flash earlier and is forced to use heal to get away from
Tower goes down
box.
early, wave gets bounced towards Steve. So they let the creeps die and bounce back, and if you don't know how that works, just watch this tower right here. They'll do exactly the same. They want the tower to kill as many minions as you can. However, Vardags looks to be picking up this farm. Doesn't really bounce the wave all that correctly, but just want to both base here and then redistribute the lane. So Chachi now is going to get the lane. Just getting the lane, but not the tower gold. That is peculiar. Why? Maybe for pickaxe gold? Likely it was to get Vardags on that pickaxe money, just so he could get down to the bottom and push out Steve.
And we'll see how effectively Vardags can use the pickaxe this time around. Game 1 took a lot longer for Vardags to become relevant than Game 2 because he had to go pickaxe first.
In 3 games in a row, Horo has been playing that Rek'Sai. Very necessary pick to just maintain that vision control and that map control for the Unicorns. They swapped Wallace to the top lane, 1 tower down. Might keep him getting levels. Get that Fate's Call. And the problem is Chachi can't go into that lane right now because he'll just get annihilated. Thresh and Kalista can just completely screw you over if you're a top laner and walking into that lane.
So I want to just quickly revisit Nukeduck in this middle lane, Crepo, because as we mentioned, he's not started with any AP runes. He's picked up a longsword already. If memory serves, I believe High actually played a regular AD, Triforce, Corki mid lane.
Now, mid laners have traditionally been very, very strong. Like 80 carry mid laners have just been very strong. Back in the day, you would play Kassadin, or you play Caitlyn into Kassadin, just completely win that lane. Have a lot of control because they trade so well 1v1. Most of them have a gap closer built in. They excel at just punishing you in these short lanes because they just do so much damage with auto attacks. The Corki adaptation that we used to see was just standard 80 Corki with a Ludens for the poke. Perhaps we'll see that. Jankos right now, he's making his way. Clears the tunnel though, so if Power Evil's paying attention to the map, he could have seen that.
Manages to get away closely enough. But Crep, I feel like we're going way back in time to 4v0 days with a modification in this matchup.
This is what we've seen throughout the entire season, just a slightly modified version because of how slow the early game was, but it is group up, 3 men on the tower, push it out, bounce it back to your top laner, reverse and see what happens. People choose to do the same thing, you mirror it. If not, you have these 1v2 scenarios going out. Very different approach than what LCK does. They like just sharing a lot of experience toward the top laner, sending him out and just denying that wave bounce and pushing it in all the way. Marin is exceptional at doing that. Right now, Unicorns, because of the switch, they find themselves at the bottom side of the map with more members. Getting that early dragon. Denying an objective. Potential aspect from Roccat already.
Good early start. Also a divergence from the rest of the series.
They lose some gold though. Down 600 gold.
Grab was picked up there by UOL, so they get a small advantage. And the CS differences panning out just a little stronger for Roccat. A lot of it in Jankos' hands. He's been power farming very effectively.
Yeah, yet again, the one thing that kind of ruins it for Vardex in this lane swap is that he doesn't get a BF sword on first back. And if you have to play pickaxe into a Cutlass build, you lose out because Cutlass is kind of weak into a BF sword early because just the stat differential. Pickaxe kind of gets annihilated. There's too much sustain. You have too little 80 damage for all in. So Rawless, he's comfortably farming his way. Steve says he doesn't need boots. All he needs is penetration. Haunting guy is finished up. In these matchups traditionally where you have a lot of lane swapping, when the dust settles and everybody finds himself in their normal lanes, top laners are obviously behind the curve compared to the rest of the team. And then we have to see how far behind each other they are. How does the matchup play out? Wave control, incredibly important.
Death sentence from Vander does not connect, and this is the dust settling. Vardex and Hylissang now in the bottom lane. Hilly's already got those Moby boots picked up. Early Sightstone from Vander, so as expected, but a lot of wards for UOL in the bottom lane.
Steve can freeze his lane on the top lane. Jankos is backing him up. He's going to hand off the blue buff very soon to his mid laner. Nuke on Corki right here. So now Chachi is stuck. He can't really push in that wave. So a lot of farm going towards Steve. And because Roccat was pressuring earlier, a minute ago they were pressuring tier 2 tower on bot lane, there's no cross map potential for Unicorns of Love. So this situation, all in all, is very good for Roccat. They now control the pace of the game. They can choose to keep that lane frozen in the top lane, just get Steve very fed, or push it out slowly and use that momentum to go somewhere else. You obviously have Nuke in the middle, and you will never push in the Corki. It'll take 3 or 4 people to chunk out the Corki because there's so much wave clear, especially with blue buff. The wave on the top on the bot lane was all the way at the enemy tower, so there's no potential there. So really good map control in sync from Roccat Gaming.
And a lead as we're approaching 10 minutes. All of those factors, Crepo, building up to now options for Roccat. And this team composition, they have to make plays. You know, game 1, Jankos, little impact Elise early. Game 2, much better. And he'll need that for this team comp to spike and win mid.
Oh, and in this situation, I really like the item choices from the supports, more so on Vander's side, because he built a straight-up Sightstone. He can now move in together with Jankos. Look at that ward. Outside of normal sweeper range, he can move in for some more deep wards later. He just swept the one and only ward that Hylissang had, which was a Trinket ward, because Hylissang went for the early mobility boots, but it'll be incredibly hard for him to roam, because Steve is protected with wards, Nuke is nigh unkillable, and Vander has enough wards around him to force Hylissang into a laning situation, and Moby boots are useless in lane. So, ward and control and vision control on the side of Roccat this game.
Well, the reaction from the 2 previous games seems to be working for Roccat, at least for now.
And this could have happened every game with Kalista. It took them until game 3 to leave Kalista open and not give away her counterpart Sivir for apparently no reason. And
Roccat will not be on blue side for another 2 games. So the next game they reset sides. UOL go back to first
if they win.
If they win, of course. But it's just very interesting to see, to talk about those pick and ban trends in the decision making, because
now Steve has pushed out a little bit too far, outside of vision range.
He's in trouble.
Horror comes in.
Flash is available, shield is up. There's a sapling, it's going to chase for the touchdown! There was no vision.
And this is the problem. Roccat was doing the right move and had all the control of the map. You can only take it so far. Eventually, you're going to run out of room to play with perfect vision. And then, because Actually, this was an even bigger mistake from Steve because look at all the deports we have here. 1, 2, 3 in this area. So we have absolute 100% guarantee that Horo is not in the bot side of the map. By proxy, where will he be? The top side of the map. Who's there pushing up? It was Steve. Good hook on Power of Evil now.
He's caught out. The Frost Bomb is going to connect. Chaos Storm comes out. A big one gets fired from Nuketak as the Chaos Storm is going to push Vander away. Mr. Rolls is coming up with Fate's Call. Will he lob a Thresh at UOL? We'll find out shortly. Roccat look to set themselves up a siege. Despite giving up first blood, they are proactive enough to get some damage on the tower.
You have fun sieging into a Victor.
Yeah.
When he has some ability power. The only thing you can do is let him clear the wave and then transform into spider form with Elise. You spawn 2 spiderlings, they do take tower aggro. That was how SKT took that infamous 3 towers and inhibitor run, because juggling the tower with Elise spiderlings, something they can approach, but generally it's not the wisest approach to group into Sivir and Victor. That's why Roccat is basing right now. But the map has been reset, the gold has been evened out, and Roccat have lost some momentum.
They have indeed, and against all of the wave clear of that Victor and Sivir, Roccat will need to be very intelligent on how they transition between towers and how they transition between objectives. At 12 minutes, Dragon is 35 seconds away from spawning. This is, again, a sharp departure from the 2 previous games. We'll see if UOL want to try race for Aspect.
Now, Yankas is playing this early game aggressive jungler on Elise, but this time he does pick up a side stone because he didn't get any gank stuff. He can't snowball in that damage department. In that sense, I feel the Rex side pick from Horo has been paying off more for Unicorns of Love. He now also has a side stone. He's going around. This game is developing in a slower vision type of based game, and that's what we were expecting coming into this series.
But for UOL, they surprised a lot of us with their map play and their decision making. See, Nuketak has picked up the Phage, has been sitting on the Sheen for a little while, so he'll have 2 components of that Triforce for a potential team fight. There is also that pink ward that spotted Mr. Rolls a little while ago in the bottom half of the map. So UOL will have some deep vision, but UOL are nowhere near this objective. So Roccat should get it unsecured, even more so with Horo up top.
So they're baiting Steven. They know that they can't really win this fight based on the position of the lanes. So I like it when teams simply concede a dragon. I hate it when teams go sightseeing. They group around the dragon. They're like, oh, you guys are taking it? Can I have a look? They just stand there watching for a while. Oh, okay, you guys got the dragon. We got the timer, even though it's global anyways. Power of Evil. Coon Hillsang furiously stomps the ground, says no. We have to get back on that point. I like it. Unicorns of Love were trying to cross map. They had a Horo hiding in the top lane. CC chain with Chachi trying to get Steve. Steve learned from his previous mistakes. He didn't overextend again. So clean dragon from Roccat.
And tower defense is on. Death Ray comes out from Power of Evil. Got Hillsang nearby if any counter engage needs to happen. And Roccat, half-hearted attempt.
Yeah, if Power of Evil didn't know how to stop sieges with Victor, he must have learned last game. It's a complete mirror. Gravity field goes down. Minions freeze in time in front of the tower, take some hits, then the laser comes out. Incredibly easy wave clear, so another opening will be needed. Pardex is jungling. He's a little low on resources though, so we might see Fate's Call being used here.
Nuketak does seem to be pushing back into the lane as Power of Evil is responding. There's a lot of vision in this half of the map, both for UOL and Roccat.
Yep.
And I think that's why Rolls and Vander is pushing up so heavily.
Yeah, they have the control of that side of the map, and that's something we haven't really seen from Roccat in the last few games. They picked Kog'Maw twice, and they got pushed in. Right now they pick Gillis, and they're pushing in. You see how that translates in terms of pressure, what the opportunities are for the different members of your team. Having winning lane matchups is incredibly important for the mid to early game, because more members have to defend bot lane. This leaves mid lane exposed. However, Chachi's going in.
Oh, Chachi's going to avoid the death sentence by going for the twisted advance. Mr. Rolls gets bounced around before he gets bopped on the head and taken down. Steve follows suit. Chachi is going to flash away defensively. Equalizer did not do a whole lot, and UOL extend the kill lead.
Rawless died with flash up against the Maokai. Uncharacteristic mistake from this very, very position-reliant AD carry. Always complimented on how well he positions in fights, and yeah, Roccat lose too. 1,000 gold lead for Unicorns. No dragon to really capitalize upon. Some damage on the tower, but it just opens up for Hillsang to move in with the remaining ward he had and place it around Raptors. Just get control of the match.
I'm nervous for Roccat because of all 3 kills, Chachi's been involved in all of them. He's already starting to build up a CS advantage over Steve, and if this double AD carry comp can't deal with Maokai, it's going to be real hard.
Twisted advance obviously makes you untargetable. Hook goes wide. Killsang pops R, breaks the CC chain, the little chain, and then from Thresh follows up with combo. Pretty clean, pretty easy gank almost. I feel like this is quite predictable, and perhaps it would have been wiser for Rawls to use his flash. However, 3-0 for Unicorns of Love. Teleport advantage is on Chachi as well, and that's something we have to look for, because Roccat as a team are incredibly good at using those teleports, even though last game they didn't really have home guards. See if Chachi is going to take that approach.
So, Unicorns now turning the tension onto Roccat. They are the ones trying to set up the siege. You can see Horo positioning with a Tremor Sense, and there's some wards for additional vision.
Yeah, they're going for this pincer move where you want to force people to defend and wave clear and then just straight up dive them. However, against the Thresh with Fate's Call available and just the raw amount of wave clear, you'll be taking so many tower shots in doing so. It is not the wisest of approaches.
Unicorns realize that, I feel. They've decided to back away and just keep pushing out the waves. Vardex going to have a very big minion wave down bottom. Chachi's going to catch that wave up top. But look at the tower in mid here for UOL. It's very, very low. A light breeze could knock that over.
Light breeze could knock it over indeed. I'm just looking at Jankos right now and what he has accomplished with Elise in these games. Game 1 was lackluster. Game 2 was a good start. Game 3 is still 0-0-0. He's playing her with Sightstone. People always compliment Roccat. Hang on, Vardex.
Well,
double
Vardex
combo.
bored, but it may not matter because Hylissang's stuck in behind the whole team. Chachi goes for a long-range twisted advance. Those Ren stacks are continuing to be built up.
Kill.
1E, it will be a kill. Mr. Rolls finds it, and UOL initiates the fight.
Yeah, screw that point. Very panicky engaged to keep the tower alive. Unicorns really don't want to lose this middle lane tower, but it doesn't really matter whether it's on 10% HP or you lose it. It's gone anyways. It doesn't hold to a dive, or you may have just write it off. Now, due to this play, Power Reveal's out of mana. Luckily, that wave disappears in time.
There's a Chachi teleported
Teleported
as well.
for that play. Went in, just... Poor read. You can't really get close to towers when Thresh is peeling for Kalista, because every time he slaps the enemy, 12% disappears from that Kalista passive. Then you stack some Rens, and then there's a reset coming up from Raw. As if there's anybody you want to kill on, it's the Blade of the Ruined King Kalista right now. Corki hit power spike on Triforce too. Elise is still very useful, even if she goes for a ward build. And then Rumble has the ultimate Rumble build finish too, so really big power spikes for Roccat here, so Unicorns, they may have to watch out a little bit.
Hylissang and Vardex may find themselves a nuke duck. It's not going to do a whole lot, but does have a bit of damage to play around with. So Roccat maintain an even gold disparity, or they're even on gold as we're approaching 20 minutes. Despite being behind in kills, they're ahead in towers. They also got the previous dragon completely safely. So it looks like Roccat are maybe going to set up some vision for this next one.
Usually when you see these type of compositions come out, you see a lot of fights around blue buffs, red buffs, and dragons, because you want to end the game early, so whoever is stronger at the time with their mid-game power, like power spike type of team, they just want to take the fight. So you see in LCK a lot, where we're just, or LPL rather, where randomly, 40 minutes in a game, happened today as well. I was watching a game and somebody would die at the enemy's base, 40 minutes in the game, and 5 people were killing him. I could understand 1 or 2 if you chase, but 5 guys were grouping on him. Or dragon fights, 5 against 5, so ridiculous type of things. You don't really see that very often in Europe. People like to yield their dragons a lot more, which makes me so eager to look forward to Worlds, because we'll have to see which style comes out on top. You know, the relentless aggression of grouping on objectives, or the more passive approach of yielding objectives.
MSI showed us the aggressive approach can be very effective. Roccat are trying to set up that fight on blue buff, as you mentioned.
But this leaves mid lane exposed, because now Unicorns have to 4-man defend this buff. Do Roccat really care? All they want is hits on the tower, and that is exactly what Nukeduck is doing right now. Yes, you get the blue buff. What do you use the blue buff for? To wave clear waves, but where do you need to do that? At the tower, where it's already too late, took some damage. Nukeduck, he could use a blue buff, he's out of mana.
Death Sentence catches on Hylissang. Wrecking Ball's out. This may be another forced engage.
Fate's
Horo
Call is still available.
did not get the knockup. Horo gets caught by the box. Now he's going to be the sacrificial lamb. Rend will secure a kill there by Mr. Ralls. But Jankos and Horo are both out. The fight continues. Death Sentence onto Power of Evil. Vanda showing up in what could be the life-saving game for Roccat. They once again grab the gold lead. Now let's see if they stick around for a siege.
That's a very weird fight coming out from these teams here. In the end, Roccat come out on top. Really, really good use of Fate's Call. Notice how Mr. Wallace didn't panic and immediately pulled Vander back to say, no, hold. We're fine, we're fine, we're fine. Okay, now use it aggressively instead. He knocked up Power of Evil, immediately hooked, and Pee-wee didn't find the time to flash. Or his flash maybe has just been on cooldown. Not quite sure there, but wait for drops and pick off by Roccat. Now 1,000 gold in the lead.
They do need to defend this outer tower. A little bit of a half-hearted siege though from UOL. They're just going to push the cannon minion into range before backing off. And you know, UOL have done a good job of farming. Their top lane in AD carries ahead. However, Jankos has just been surging way ahead of Horo in the jungle. Picked up an Aegis now.
Yeah, really good build there, Aegis on Elise. Jankos seems to favor still the very tank-heavy Elise. Actually didn't remember to track what he was maxing second. We're just gonna have a look right now. He is maxing his E last, so 5 points in Q, 3 in W for Jankos right now. Relying on his base damage and just a buff duration of that cocoon. Level 1 should be enough for him. He says Nuktuk has his power spike. He's not going for Triforce Ludens. As previously seen, he's going for just a BT right there. So Corki in that sense scales poorly because every additional item after a Triforce just doesn't do very much for Corki. He's building in too many directions, especially since his ultimate doesn't really scale that well off his items, unlike, you know, Varus, where obviously not the ultimate, but the piercing arrow Q scales so well in the poke department of AD damage.
Well, we'll see if Nuktuk can make it work. 3 assists, all 3 of his team's kills. You somewhat expect that of that poke from that missile barrage. And he's actually chunking Hylissang quite heavily already.
Bardax, third game on Sivir, he's 2-0-1. He's doing a lot better than many critics, including myself, expected from him. He had a better impact last game with that final flank on Sivir, really sealed the deal.
Oh, but he eats a cocoon, cost a curse. The rocket comes out. His sentence just
Trevor.
goes wide.
But talk him down. He flanks a victor with Sivir. But now he eats a cocoon, doesn't spell shield. He gets caught. What goes up must come down. Jankos, Lantern, Gravity Field.
He's going to get stunned. The Chaos Storm will get the kill. Chachi's looking for the Twisted Advance. I don't know if he's going to find it. He actually flashed in for that one. Equalizer comes out from Steve defensively. That's going to force Power of Evil back. Visit Chachi. He's staying alive a few hits longer, but it won't be enough. The tower is so low as well.
A really good hopping and skipping from Rawless there, but that Gravity Field stopping the Lantern was a very interesting interaction. I don't think I've ever seen that before. TIL. Today I learned. We have Varnix, as we are praising him for his 2-0-1 score, he simply turns that into a 2-1-1 score.
Yeah.
Gets Cocoon and blown up immediately, and that's what it takes. One Cocoon is enough to set up the damage potential from Roccat.
And the thing is, that Cocoon led to kills, a tower, and a 3,000 gold lead. Varnix goes down. A bunch of flashes have been used, and now Horo's out of position. Gonna have to tunnel away, but you can see the strength of Corki.
Yeah, this mid-game is definitely tilting towards Roccat. Unicorns on the back foot for the first time this series. They're playing from behind in the mid-game. They're no longer having that massive tower and map and vision lead that they're so used to having. So let's see if they practice this as well with Horo as their new jungler.
This is the first time we've seen Roccat show up early on in the series. We've seen growth from the Unicorns of Love in terms of their shot calling and their decision making. And that's going to get put to the test now they're behind. A sign of a truly great team. A team that can win when you're behind.
The thing I like though the most about this Kalista pick from Mr. Rawless is that you don't need immaculate vision control to start Barons and Dragons. You don't need to choke the opponent out because you have that Rend execute. Unless there's this crazy combination of damage, which I don't see Unicorns having, unless they sync Victor damage with Smite from Rek'Sai, the Smite plus execute from Rend is just simply too much to deal with. This will force Unicorns into very predictable behavior. They either stop you before Baron reaches 2.5k, or they know it's gone. And this just definitely plays so well into Rockat's favor. So much pressure coming out from that AD carry pick. Compare that to last game when they had a Kog'Maw. So little pressure until, yeah, he gets late game. Yeah, he has a lot of damage, but he's slow. He's fighting at the outskirts of the map. He's not really jumping in. So you see how Rawless was jumping in front of 4 people? Jumping forward continuously. He couldn't do that last game. Ooh. However, he may find himself picked off. Power Evil said, this is the line. Don't cross it, Mr. However, Vander, Fate's Call is available.
Fate's Call is used. Steve's teleporting in. Knockup is going to get used onto Chachi. Equalizer is not the greatest, but Chachi will give up his life.
PoE
Three
stuck,
members
though.
of UOL are grouped up, but the damage from Roccat is simply too high. Hylissang's in the middle of the team. The hook connects. Power of Evil's down. 3 members of UOL are out, and a defensive flash to avoid the 4th.
Yeah, if the Unicorns don't have the map open to themselves, they find themselves trapped in these narrow corridors, and then fantastic TP and equalizer from Steve. Good Fate's Call again. Hold it long enough to bait them in to believe that, hey, perhaps it's on cooldown, perhaps Rallis is sleeping. No, pull out, back in, knock up into hook. Vander again, fantastic. Now Horo, he knows he can't steal this because of what we talked about earlier. Rend execute. And Roccat right now, 6,600 gold in the lead. Baron buff available. They should be able to take the game with this. Watch this again. This is an engage from Chachi on Thresh. They should never do this because Fate's Call is always available. Just keep your eyes when the passive gets popped. When Vander does his 1 auto on Chachi plus Rend execute, he goes from 40% HP to absolutely 0. Now PoE enters the fight, but he can't deal with Nuke Tuck. And look, they're bunching up against Corki Rockets. The hook comes out. It's so easy to land skill shots when there's 3 people on like one square Teemo. Just, you can't miss.
Well, props to Vander throwing it at that square. And Roccat with an exceptional lead.
And this is what the analyst desk has been talking about too. We want to see more proactivity from Roccat in the draft. They did it this time, and it's working. You have playmakers like Vander. You have Engage coming out of the Kalista too. When Vander plays with a Kalista as an AD carry, he plays so much more forward, and he does exactly what he needs to do. He has that extended ability. He basically has a free flash. That means you can use your flash offensively, and you can always get Fates called out, and then still go in offensively again.
Baron empowered minions, 2 AD carries, and enough damage to destroy Fort Knox. Roccat are now setting up a siege in multiple lanes. Despite not having teleport, doesn't matter. Steve should be able to secure this tower uncontested, while the rest of Roccat keep UOL busy in the middle lane.
Yeah, and while that wave clear that we talked about last game, how Victor can swipe away these lanes with Gravity Field and then the laser, doesn't really work because the Baron buffs minions are here. On the hood is pop. Teleport home guards from Chachi.
The box is down. There's a 2-man knockup, but the damage threat is not being focused. Nuke Duck is over on the side. Horo's been left for dead. Here comes Steve, the equalizer. Not in the best position. They've traded a jungler for a top laner, but they get themselves some cow as well. Hylissang's down as Chachi's forced to flash defensively. The Roccat doesn't connect. 2 for 1.
Yeah, and I just really like the way Vander's playing these fights. He's continuously staying forward in his positioning, and UOL making the mistake of engaging him constantly. Again, Fate's Call is still available, so he didn't even need it. Halfway through the engage, they realized, yeah, this is Thresh. He's gonna get pulled back. Okay, let's not do this. Then he fakes the hook on Alistar and switches it to Horo, who then gets pulled in. Alistar was unbreakable. See that again now. Right now, we see Steve pushing with no teleport in the bottom. So good reaction. Home guard's TP is out, but TP to the wrong ward. Look on your minimap. That ward that's south of that location could have been a flank from Chachi. Instead, he's coming to the front door on an Elise and Thresh when Rallis is kiting. Wrong approach. Hylissang comes out. The hook goes on Horo. He still has Fate's Call available. Yeah, just complete mismatch in terms of flanking. You know, Roccat has done this better. Chachi should have teleported to the ward that's right next to the mid lane. It's still on your map right now. You can see it where Thresh is hovering around. That could have been a flank from behind. Knock them back into your team. Get to the carries. Instead, they went for Vander on Thresh for the 3rd time in a row and just didn't work out.
Both Steve and Chachi have had interesting teleports. Steve previously towards the Baron, Chachi this time towards the mid lane. But Unicorns, they're just falling further and further behind. The gold lead is growing, the tower difference is growing, and they now have to deal with super minions.
They're running out of bullets. They had some combat mechanics, but they're falling further behind. Every shot they take and they miss, Roccat will fire back. Say thank you very much. 8,000 gold in the lead right now, and I want to see what it does for this series. It's obviously fantastic.
Yes.
I know the fans are cheering here for Unicorns of Love, but I want to see more League of Legends.
I agree, and this is the Roccat that people were expecting. Because for Roccat, there are very few teams that have had so much expectation and so much respect from every other team in the league. But they seem to just fall over at the big hurdles. Now, this is the biggest hurdle they have to overcome, down 0-2 in a series. Roccat need a reverse sweep to make semifinals, to go to Stockholm. And this is a very convincing way to start a potential comeback.
The triple carry composition here on Roccat. Tank Elise coming out, just building that CDR a little bit for more cocoons. That mid lane Corki somehow working out. We're waiting for the cocoon. Trevor?
I'm not sure everybody is though. But we'll see. Jankos and Horo. Champion pool's not been pressured, not been tested.
They might though, as the series progresses. Adaptation game 3. I can see what Roccat did. Perhaps they ran this composition endlessly in scrims. They said, okay, we stomped. Unlucky. Game 1, you know. Staged fright, you know, jitters. Whatever. Run it again game 2 with a mild adaptation. Then they realized though, it's not working. If it's not working, try and fix it. They fixed it. Let's see if Unicorns react differently. We're also swapping sides again next match, so it will be very, very interesting draft.
Oh, yes.
Unicorns, they've been banning the same thing every single game right now. They might start realizing that eliminating Engage from Vander might be the right approach and just deny him the Janna pick. Or allow him the Janna pick rather and deny him the Engage.
Deny the Engage abilities. Yeah. Unicorns have a little bit of hope to pull this game back because they do have some wave clear.
They're just waiting for a pick right now, but Rockat's playing smarter.
And Roccat have only won half of the games where they've had a lead at 20 minutes. That's not a great...
To be fair, Roccat hasn't won that many games.
Okay.
I mean, statistically, you're not going to win that. Like, your win-loss in both ahead and behind is going to be bad if you just don't win that many games.
And Roccat do give us some very long games.
That they do, indeed.
Let's find out if this gold lead and tower lead
But
will
why
convert to a quicker victory.
Yeah. Why I like this Kalista so much, apologies for interrupting, I'm just very excited about this pick, is that it plays out your game plan very easily. If you look at it, so like, what are we good at? Taking Barons. We are now 1 Baron away, or 1 minute away from Baron. What should we not do? Siege. No, just wait. Take that Baron. Take it slow. You know, you're a couple thousand gold in the lead. Just push in the Unicorns. Deny that pick off. You have your pick at a litter. You can even go for Dragon first, then Baron. Baron first, then Dragon. Trade either. Then Aspect suddenly on the board. So much potential in these playoffs for Roccat.
And they seem to be trending towards the Dragon first. If you look at the vision, if you look at the map, and the way the waves are pushing, Roccat are grouping themselves towards Dragon number 4.
Yeah,
they could peel towards Baron next.
The Unicorns haven't even seen the river in the last 10 minutes, it feels like. Right now, Chachi and Hillesang are peeking in. Say, okay, we have some wards, but they'll quickly be swept. They don't even remember what the Dragon Pit looks like. Jankos just simply saw that, and yeah, Roccat comfortably spreading out around the map right now.
Another advantage for Roccat. Nukeduck also secures the Scuttle Crab up top, so Baron vision, solos on the Dragon here from Jankos. 2, 2, and 6. It took a long time for Jankos to get involved, but now that he has, it's been great.
And it's 8 out of 10 kills that he is involved, so kill participation doing well.
And you can see it was after the laning phase ended. 9 out of 10 kills for Nukeduck, 9 out of 10 kills for Mr. Rolls.
And that's fine, 9 out of 10 kills for Vander too, and that is what their composition is built around. Mid-game power spike, challenging objectives. They are now 4 dragons to 1. They have been 1 Baron up already. They've taken 1 inhibitor down that's spawned in the process too. They, as we said before, they don't need perfect vision. They don't care that you're watching when you take the Baron because there's no 50-50 smite. Yeah. It's like a 90-10. If you execute within Ren range and you don't panic, you will get that Baron.
Roccat now decide to use the split pushing Steve in the bottom lane, group themselves up in middle, invested a lot of vision in the bottom half of the map. UOL are just scrambling to take what they can.
And this makes it so that Chachi has to defend Steve. He can no longer sit in the fountain with Home Guard's TP ready. He has to move around the map, so he is a variable accounted for. Doesn't speed up with the teleport either, so less flanking potential in that regard.
And of course, less wards behind Roccat, so Unicorns will be hard pressed. Baron has been started. Not perfect vision, but enough to see and engage. There's a ward in the pit. There's a ward in the pit.
Listen, do it so quick.
UOL are going to give it up. Well, Horror's going to go down. Forced to flash away, actually. Didn't even invest the teleport from Steve or Chachi.
Yeah, it's just uncontestable, and Unicorns know that it is unlikely. Like, Horror is a smart player, right? So he knows how unlikely it is that he will get that Baron. The fact that he goes for that move and knows that it'll cost him his flash, he says, oh, yeah, at this point, we have to try. So, desperate times for the Unicorns of Love.
Yesterday, when we got to game 3, Fisher started talking about how if you're a team that is behind, you start looking ahead, start talking what the next steps are. For UOL, this is now going to force us into potentially a 4th game, if Roccat can close.
But it's still too early for them to start talking about picks and bans, because sometimes in a series, when you're behind, you're like, okay, game 1, we screwed up. We just got outplayed. Okay, look at next game, and you stop playing this game. However, with Maoka, Alistar, you know, some raw damage on Victor, speed up from Sivir, you can still, you know, wait until Roccat kind of zones off, you know, snoozes a little bit, but so far they've been playing it correctly with just the right amount of respect. One could argue a little bit too much at the same time, but pick on Chachi here.
Well,
goes in, because he knows Kalista can always pull him back. Another hook coming out in about 2 seconds.
Engaging on Chachi. That was the box used for nothing really gained, but Roccat.
Vander was a little hesitant because it was out of Fate's call range. That's why he obviously didn't want to commit, because they don't have the perfect vision of the follow-up, and Fesh can get blown up immediately. Now they're sieging though. And Rawless doesn't really care. Laser damage does nothing to him. Hook's coming out. Faked on Power of Evil, but goes on Chachi.
Tower's gonna drop here. There's cannons just hammering away.
Keep your eyes on Vander. He's reading these fights perfectly. Cocoon goes on PoE, but because it expires, he positions himself in such a manner that says, okay, PoE, I'm coming for you. Nope, going for Chachi. And you will do that every time. Every time you threaten a carry, his support or his top laner will move up and try and peel. That is an easy grab to do that. You can pull him into the blocks, flay him backwards, and deal with him that way.
Roccat successfully siege the last inner turret. They have an exposed inhibitor in the mid lane. They've got top and bottom towers to knock down if they so desire. Infinity Edge picked up for Nukta Corki. A lot of damage on this triple carry threat. A large gold lead. And Baron will be wearing off relatively soon, but it's been a success for Roccat once again.
Right now they can wait though, because they took the Baron about a minute after they took the Dragon, give or take 130. So now their objectives are nicely spaced out. Their Aspect will come out online about 130. They can use that to take down a middle tier inhibitor if they don't do right now. So then they can use Aspect to open the map a little more. Eventually take a 3rd Baron and close out the game. That is if Unicorns Alive don't make a panic engage right here and pop Sivir ulti.
Well, death sentence on Hylissang, gets a knock-up onto Nuktak. Nuktak's flashed away, but he gets followed! Chachi follows him over the wall! How important will that be? Power of Evil has gone down and Vardags is retreating. Look at Mr. Rawls, he's dealing so much damage with the red. The Fate's Call throws Vander into the fight, but it's Steve that gets a double kill. They may not even need Aspects. Vardags and Chachi against 4 members of Roccat as the minions are pouring in.
Walking forward right now, 2 members remain. 1 top lane and 1 AD carry. This tower's melting. He's dragging away the creeps.
Very
like, if you want this
smart.
tower, you'll backdoor, but obviously Spiderlings can help you. Chachi saying, don't fight me, I'm just farming.
Gonna
Good
hold
delay.
on the game
10
for a little
seconds
bit.
on Healy.
It's gonna be enough to keep UOL alive for a few seconds.
That's actually a very creative hold. I don't think I've seen that very often. Props to Chachi for finding that out. However, what that does is, even though he got about 100 gold from those creeps, he's still down 12,000 in this matchup. Baron is coming in about 2 minutes. Dragon is live in 20 seconds.
But will UOL be able to sneak this? Void Rush is coming out from Hora. Chachi's nearby. Vardags is nearby, although they may be in trouble. Chachi's gonna get run down. Oh, very
nice
smart.
dodge.
Twisted advance to a minion. Dodges the cocoon, but look at the positioning. Dragon's up in 3. Ooh, this could get risky, Crepo.
They have to. Unicorns have to commit for this fight, and how badly do Roccat want Aspect?
Look at Steve's teleport. He's gone to the tower,
Home
not
guards.
to the jungle. Home Guards is on. Death Sentence connects on Hylissang. Dragon's down to 3,000. UOL should secure it. Hylissang gets a knockup. That's Dragon 2. Equalizes a little late. Chachi's on the front line. He does not want to be on the front line. Forced to run away. This guy has already used Flash and now Roccat. They're looking for more. Supers are going down middle. There goes the Fate's Call. Rawls is holding a Thresh and Vander's throwing himself forward. Chachi stays alive. Nobody has died yet. UOL stall Aspect.
Miscommunication on UL. When that equalizer went down, it was reminiscent of that little line that Power Wheel drew earlier in the river. Half of the team from Unicorns went forward, half of them went backward. If they were on the same page, this fight could have looked differently. However, they still managed to get out there alive. They stalled Aspect, but they have another challenge of the same magnitude in about 1 minute 30 seconds. Because this 3rd battle of the game could prove final. Only 1 Nexus tower remains.
Roccat
Still
wants
some
that Baron.
fight left though in the Unicorns.
They're not giving up, that's for sure. For obvious reason. If they can turn this game around in the 40th minute, they qualify for a rematch with Fnatic. A rematch of the spring finals. And one step closer to qualifying for Worlds. Remember, UOL, they've got 70 championship points. So if they've placed higher than H2K these playoffs, UOL and Fnatic win, UOL then could qualify for the World Championships through championship points.
And if you are UOL management or players or coach, that is probably what you're looking for, because facing up against Fnatic might prove tough.
And the hunt used from Vardags, that's important because Baron's 30 seconds away. Keeps Hylissang alive.
And again, we don't need perfect warding. Jankos can deep ward here, they can spot what Unicorns is doing. Unicorns will need a panic fight. However, teleport advantage is available on Vizichachi, but there is no ward, so no flank opportunity with home guards. He'll come from the front door. If Roccat is expecting the engage, traditionally, they have won so far.
And Roccat have got a big margin of error room with that 13,000 gold lead. Look at Rawls' build. It is max. Mercurial Scimitar, plus all your standard Kalista items, Hurricane, BT.
I think Kalista is one of the worst carries to when you place your boots with another item in, because your hop distance is dependent on the rank of your boots, if I recall correctly. Horo sees the little dots on his sonar. He says, nope, they're all in here. I think they're doing Baron. Confirmed they're doing Baron. Baron's going down quickly.
Look at the rain.
Almost so quickly that Rend is hard to proc.
Look at the rain. Stolen! Unicorns have stolen it! Hylissang's in the middle of the team with Horo for backup. Boomerang Blade flies across Roccat and a defensive flash is there. But look at Nukeduck. He's looking for more. This is going to be the second kill. Potentially. Vardags is in a little bit of trouble. Spell shield on the death centers, but the equalizer's burning. A flash over from Rawls. He's going to steal the red buff as well. 2 for Baron.
Oh, this might be game over. Imagine if Horo came out of it alive. This was literally Roccat killing themselves because they're killing the Baron so quickly that there were enough spears to be stacked for Kalista Rend to do damage. Stacking spear takes time because they do it so quickly. He only had about like 400, 500, 600 Rend execute damage. Combine the laser with the smite that we talked about earlier to secure the Baron. But they need to hold though. 15 seconds for Healy.
35 for Vardags, and that's an important one. Crepo, 50% of the wins while ahead at 20. That's all Rockat's got. And they've just lost a Baron. And Dragon's up in what, 3 minutes?
You're hitting, yeah, 3 minutes roughly, give or take, but you're hitting the point of the game where additional gold on certain members just isn't worth it anymore. People are hitting 6 item caps. Kalista can't even farm efficiently anymore. Yes, those CS numbers go up and it's nice and pretty and all after the game, but it doesn't do anything for you except elixirs. Watch again. Look out how many auto attacks Rawls is getting off on this Baron before it reaches lethal range. Keep your eyes on PoE. Horo's going in. Smite combined with the laser, and then Horo, he's trying to get out. Horo should have just flashed. He's being greedy right now. He has flash available, but he wants to wait for his tunnel while Hylissang is peeling. Eventually he ends up flashing over, but he baits Vardags into defending him. So luckily for him, that doesn't cost Unicorns a lot of the game, but good synergy and fantastic timing on that steal.
Banner of Command picked up for Hylissang as well as Baron. Unicorns going for the late game. 45 minutes in. One more shot, one more opportunity to see if they can go to the semifinals.
How are their knees feeling? I wouldn't know. Yeah, later in the game, mixed damage output from Unicorn, so no longer a one-dimensional composition.
Well,
once she gets hooked, he is pretty tanky, but there's a lot of damage on Roccat.
Also, look, the outer turret in that mid lane still standing. UOL find themselves in the position that Roccat were previously, playing on their half of the map for, God, the majority of this game.
40 seconds away from next Dragon, so UOL, they don't really care. Like, they don't need extensive ward vision in the areas to figure out what's going on because they have the sonar available from Horo when he's underground. His flash is still down though. Chachi's flash is up, so flash versus advance is what I want you guys to keep your eyes on at home. Also, watch Power Evil. He has had some fantastic aggressive flashes throughout the series. Going to these team fights, and Roccat is playing with only one tank, and Jankos, yeah, he can get bypassed really easily, so these damage deals from Roccat could fall on a whim.
So Vander's a little low. UOL have taken the
Lower.
Vander bait a few times. Let's see if they make that same mistake. Dragon, it is up, and UOL have positioning.
However, Nexus is open. Remember,
This is how
I've seen this in NALCS
Team
before.
Liquid beats it. Power People's down. This could be game. This could be game. There's recalls coming out from UOL. Roccat, they're pushing in. They do have to fight against supers. Remember that. I'm lying to you entirely. They have supers to fight with. That's what I wanted to say. Roccat now, 5 members up. They're on the Nexus turret. Horror's coming in from behind. The super minions are pouring through. Bardax is stepping on an equalizer.
Has to be
The
game.
minions are being pulled away from the Nexus turret. Roccat, they're looking for the Nexus. They're grouped up. More knockups are coming in. Bardax, he's down. Double kill for Steve. All of UOL are dead. They've been aced. Roccat keep their semi-final hopes alive.
They got cursed going for that 5th dragon. Same way Team Liquid took them down. And the LCS. Yeah, when you go for dragon, you leave your mid lane exposed. Earlier in the game, that means tier 1. Later in the game, that means tier 2. At the end of the game, that means your Nexus.
Yeah.
Your Nexus falls. It doesn't matter how many dragons you have. Good read by Roccat. Didn't panic. Vander got poked. They could have panicked and went in for that 5th dragon and tunnel visioned and just like, okay, we need it, we need it, we need it. Why do we need it to win the game? How do we win the game? Kill the Nexus. Well, let's go straight to step 3, kill the damn Nexus. Fantastic opening by Roccat and resilient, aggressive game. And this is what I was waiting for. I'm glad it happened. And we're on to game 4.
We are on to game 4, and this is the first time that Roccat stepped up this series. They played aggressively, they used the map, they moved between objectives.
They banned smart, finally.
And Kalista was the key to that. They're red side next time. Now it's actually up onto UOL, and they have to react. They have to change to what Roccat have just done.
Has Vardex not learned to play, but has Vardex gotten comfortable picking Kalista early? Because in a previous matchup, that's exactly what won Roccat the game. It was Vander on Alistar, which is even better than Thresh with Kalista, and Rawls on Kalista.
Yeah.
Continuously throwing him in there. Knock up, unbreakable, knock up again. And that combination I would really like to see again from Roccat, or just put some ban pressure on the Unicorns. And I don't know why they have been shooting themselves in the foot doing so far.
Well, we'll find out as we do get to game 4. Vardex is actually 0-3 on Kalista. Now they're on blue side. We'll see how important that is. Head over to the analyst desk right now and talk about how Roccat came up big to stay alive in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, Roccat not out of this one yet, coming back, and how. I think the focal point of this discussion will be what did UOL also misplay in some instances, but to the defense of Roccat, they seem to have made the alterations, as the caster said as well. The Kalista so incredibly crucial.
It seems so simple, almost, with the Kalista pick coming in. Rallis is a fantastic play on it, and also it gives Roccat the ability to fight properly in the mid-game. That has been the key for both teams here, because you see how Unicorns in this game, they're like, okay, we're weaker in the mid-game, we still have our one play style technically, so we're going to keep running at you, we're going to keep engaging, and they just ran straight into the open arms of Roccat, who were like ready to fight, because look at this, you got Corki, Kalista, and Rumble. I mean, it's the wet dream of mid-game for Roccat here. So the fact that Unicorns are not able to adapt to that when it comes to in-game, I mean, you have the coach there as well, should be able to tell the players what to look for. That was a big problem, and they fell so far behind because they just kept running in and fight.
Right, and even within game, they didn't adapt to their position of being behind. It was as if they were trying to play games 1 and 2 all over again, where it's like, okay, we're ahead, let's fight. Okay, we're ahead, oh no, wait, we're not ahead. And it has been a problem of the Unicorns, is just constantly try and fight, and you know, it's the chaos style that some people have called it. It doesn't work a lot of the time, and if you're behind, it definitely doesn't work. Like, you just can't keep fighting and expect it to suddenly miraculously work.
And seeing as both teams are so tunneled at, you know, this one particular playstyle almost for both of them, these mid-game conversations are going to be so key now moving on to game 4. First of all, of course, the Kalista. I still feel like you can give it over to Unicorns. If they want to first pick it, put all the eggs on the basket here of Vardex,
yeah.
who's 0-3 in Kalista, who's not been performing that well when he had to really step up and be a carry. And at the same time, you also, if you're lucky, then in the first pick that's Sivir, you get the Kalista anyway, and you might force Unicorns to ban it. At the same time, Corki might just again become a valuable pick, not necessarily in the mid lane, but if Kalista Sivir is banned out or whatever, then suddenly Corki goes very high up in value for both AD carries to get, because again, it's so much about the mid game for both teams.
Right, and the other option there is, depending on how the pick ban goes on the side of Roccat, you also open the option for yourself to get the Victor as well for your mid lane if you know Nuke does want to go for that. So there is a lot more options now that this series is evolving for the picks and bans phase when it comes to Roccat, and Unicorns seem to be running out of ideas, but every time we say they're running out of ideas,
One
they've
game.
got right.
Almost like it's the beauty of best of series that the picks and bans evolve. Whoa. Yeah, I just got to commend Roccat for this one as well because, you know, we thought that they might fall into the trap again of letting it stall and didn't have to. It stalled a little bit to some good defenses of the Unicorns of Love, but I got to commend the fact that they went to that quirky pick, they committed, they got the early advantage, and they kept pushing through knowing that their, well, playoff lives were on the line here.
Yeah, and again, also just for them finally realizing what Unicorns is doing well and what they're not doing so well. And that is very often, it's funny because Unicorns like to say they adapt super well. And I feel like we see very often best out of 5 series, it's the same thing again and again and again, and it's more depending on what you're playing against. If you're playing against strong early to mid game, Unicorns tend to struggle. I want people to think back to Spring Split when they were facing SK Gaming. Whenever Svensson got his hands on Lee Sin, he would carry the early game because Unicorns kept running into him and kept taking fights with him.
Yeah.
When they banned it away, that early game pressure went down. Unicorns got to late game, and they managed to win the game. So I don't feel like they're adapting that much. They're just doing kind of the same. And now it's up to Roccat to say, okay, we know we need a stronger mid game. That seems to be the way to go to win this series. Ban and pick towards it. Don't ban Kalista. I don't even think you need to ban Orianna. It seems like a waste to me, those two.
Well, who will be able to keep a cool head and bring it back in Game 4? We will see. Incredibly interesting series, and in just a few minutes, Roccat will return to the stage to try and bring the set to the full 5. We'll look ahead to Game 4 when we return.
We take everything step by step. This is simply another step. Just as in practice, we mix no emotions into business because this is so-called business.
Before he gets popped on the head and taken down. 3 members of UOL are grouped up, but the damage from Roccat is simply too high. Illisang's in the middle of the team. The hook connects. Power of Evil's down. Gets a knock-up onto Nukeduck. Nukeduck's flashed away, but he gets followed. Chachi follows him over the wall. Roccat keep their semi-final hopes alive.